Welcome to Lesson 1 Part-Time Tutor Academy, where we're helping you to build your tutor mindset. Now, the overall objective of this lesson is to teach you how to be able to shift from your tutoring just being a side hustle to actually becoming a proper business, and you getting the title of a business owner. Now, I've split this board up into 4 frameworks because these are the kind of 4 things I want to cover this lesson and go into more detail on. We'll start off up here where we're looking at employee versus entrepreneur mindset. And when you make that transition to becoming a business owner, you will obviously have gained the title of entrepreneur. And the mindset of being an entrepreneur is very different to the mindset of being an employee. And a lot of you will be at this stage where you're either working for money, you're waiting for work to come, or you're doing sessions just to get paid. Now, if you feel like you're in this side of the table, this side of the bracket, then it's really an opportunity for you just to reflect on what is something that you want to achieve through what you're doing, i.e. the tutoring. Now, this is where the entrepreneur mindset comes in. You want to be able to create value, you want to be able to build systems, and you want to be able to think in goals, not just hours. And that's really important because your students don't want to just pay for tuition lessons. And your parents certainly don't want to just pay for tuition sessions. They want to pay for transformation. And that's why it's really important to be able to focus on providing value, right? I.e., for example, you say you're an English language tutor. You say, I want to tutor English language classes for £25 an hour, right? That could be your employee mindset. You just want to work for the £25. But if you were to provide value, you would say to students, I will help your child, or sorry, parents, you'd say, I will help your child in transforming their understanding of English language. We will help boost their grade by 1 to 2 grades within the next 12 weeks if you join our program, and we charge £45 an hour. So what you're able to do is you're able to increase what you're charging, and you're also able to create value, because that's what the fundamentals of changing from an employee to an entrepreneur have, is obviously being able to create value. Now, when you're providing value at scale, a lot of you will then become under a lot more stress, and that just happens naturally. It's kind of a natural cycle which occurs with scaling a business, and that's where it's really important to bring in systems allow you to bring structure to what you're doing, and you don't want to be able to try scaling a business and realize that there's no structure in place. So without systems, you will not be able to scale a business effectively. And then the next point here, thinking goals, not just hours. A lot of people have short-term mindset. They want to do short-term transactions. And that's not really efficient when it comes to running a successful business. You want to have your goals split up into short-term goals, long-term goals, which allow you to create plans in place that fulfill both. You get that instant gratification coming through from small wins, but then these small wins are accumulating for the big win. And that's something that's really important for this whole identity shift, really. And that leads me on to the next point, where we establish our brand, we establish our goals, and we establish our systems. And these are the 3 pillars of any successful business. And it's very important within the tutoring industry, within the education industry, that you have these 3 goals fixed and locked in. Your brand is something which people need to be able to resonate with. They must see themselves within that. And that's something really important, because there's 2 types of campaigns which a lot of businesses run. And the ones that most focus on and hear about is what we call the marketing campaign. But what really provides value, what really creates your brand, is what we call the messaging campaign. Now, the messaging campaign involves your story, it involves you creating what we call a brand script, and it involves you talking about and identifying how you're able to fix the problems that your client base has. Now, following on from the example of an English language tutor, your message should be to be able to help support them with key components of English language: structural analysis, language analysis, being able to write grade 9 for GCSEs, grade 9 answers, etc. And that's what your brand should be able to portray. That's the messaging that should be showcased. When we're talking about goals, it's kind of following on from what we've already discussed about the entrepreneur mindset. And then the systems, same. You cannot scale a business effectively if you don't have pathways in place. Whether that be onboarding process for your tutors, whether that be onboarding process for your students, whether that be bringing in new ideas, workshops, boot camps, mock exam preparations. All these different components of the tutoring industry can only flow successfully if you've got systems in place. That's how important systems are to a business and allowing you to successfully achieve the shift from side hustle to business owner. And then we come down here to value mindset. Now, value mindset is having a thought process that allows you to position yourself in a market which is really crowded. And the tuition industry, of course, is very saturated. There's no denying in that fact. But why is it that some people are able to make it to the top whilst others get left behind? And that's because many forget to create and actually understand what their value is. And value is pretty much the results times your experience. The more experience you're able to develop and the more positive results that you have, the higher your value will be. So, how can we create experience for ourselves in a crowded market, and how can we get results for ourselves? And this is why this method, and I was having a read of a book from a gentleman called Alex Hormozi, and he mentioned about how it's important to work for free if it means to obtain results and gather experience. Part of the struggle that a lot of tutors are not willing to face is doing work for free. And it's all well and good being able to offer a free trial lesson, but that's not the scale we're talking about here. What really makes a difference is if you're able to, for a long period of time, i.e. maybe 3 to 6 months, you say that these 3 to 6 months are dedicated to me building my experience, to me building results, and then you can dive into the market at a premium rate where you can put yourself priced at a premium value. And that's really important. That's one of the things I did when I first started my tutoring business, is I was willing to spend the hours for free and realizing that this would all build up and accumulate for me to have a lot of value. And now I'm able to provide testimonials, provide reviews to parents and students about why I'm positioned and the price I'm positioned at, because my value has been established. And that's really important, is value mindset, right? So the next thing is goal setting. And we look at 3 different components: income goal, student goal, lifestyle goal. So we talked about, and we kind of repeatedly talked about goals, right? And here now you're going to actually learn a bit more about how to actually structure your goals. And this is for the very beginning of your transformation from side hustle to business owner, where you will be expected to think about these 3 questions in particular. What do you want to earn monthly from tutoring, which is your income goal? Your student goal, how many students do you want to work with weekly? And lifestyle goal, how many hours do you want to teach per week? Now, this goal will constantly change, and hence why I've added it to your first lesson, because it gives you a benchmark to create, but a starting point also. So, it's really important to establish what you truly want from this business. Do you want to be somebody who sits at a C-level executive is just making decisions and just running it, overseeing, managing that aspect? Or do you want to be on the ground, working, tutoring, etc., and still being at the forefront of the business with the teaching element? These types of questions are really important when it comes to actually scaling your business effectively. At what point do you want to be at within your business? And these questions will shape that mindset. These questions will allow you to think about what position you're currently in. And this will change over time. And as we go through the different lessons, you'll realize how a lot of this starts to link together, and you'll actually understand what it means to change your personality, your mindset, your identity to fit the shoes of a business owner. So, if you want to get these points written down into a notebook, if you're using a notebook or you're writing on a Word document, get these written down, guys. These are really important points to help you and support you through your transformation, your tutor mindset shift. Okay? So, I will leave you with this lesson for you to reflect upon this, and we will see you in lesson 2, where we discuss more about how to identify your niche.